Boom.
Boom.
Sucio Talk Podcast. Spencer Horovitz.
Ew.
Chef Spencer Horovitz. We are Hadeem. What's up, man?
How you doing, Dave?
Chilling, bro. You know,
Thanks for having me on.
trying to live life, figuring shit out.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck? What's going on with you? You've been traveling.
I have done a lot of travel. Wow.
New York.
New York. I was in New York for a month. Wait, when was the last time? Did I tell you about the?
It's been like 2 years ago.
Holy
It's been 2 years since we talked.
Oh my god.
So a lot has happened.
Yeah, a lot has happened.
Last time we talked, you were like 3 pop-ups in. Actually, no, you left. You were at Slug Bar.
We haven't even opened Slug yet.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man.
Okay,
yeah.
fuck, man. So
funny.
You left Slug. You conceptualized We Are Hadeem.
Yeah.
And is that something that was in your mind at Slug?
No, not at all. It's so funny you say that too, because I remember sitting here at this in this chair, like in this spot.
Yeah.
Like I was doing this thing with my arm. And I was like, man, my fucking arm. My arm hurts right now. And I don't know
it's numb.
What's going on. It's numbness in my fingers.
Yeah.
Little did I find out that like a month into opening Slug, I had like a pretty bad back injury that I just wasn't like paying attention to, because I feel like we're, as chefs and cooks, oftentimes just like we're like dogs, You're like,
right.
Oh my god, I lost my tail back there somehow, or like a lizard. You're like, I kept running.
Yeah.
You're like, your tail's gone. What happened to your fucking tail? So I had like what is it called? Like not a slip disc, worse than a slip disc, like an extrusion, basically, where the little fucking jelly in between my little spine fucking chunks. I don't know what they're called.
Don't call your spine little. You have a big spine.
I have a big spine. Big spine. Boy.
So your chunkies in the middle of your cartilage.
The jellies came out. Yeah.
Discs.
My discs.
Your discs.
Yeah. So basically,
it came out.
Yeah. So there's a slip disc.
Yeah.
And there's like.
How did you tell? Just pain.
And yeah. So I was doing some work around the house, and like I was like lifting up on a shelf to grab something.
Yeah.
And it's the vertebrae it's like 2 vertebrae basically in the center of my back. And for years I've always, I'm 6'1", and I've worked at prep tables that were like far too low. And I just was like, oh, it's normal, your back's. But I saw videos of like, Roger Verger, like literally right angle leaned over a prep table, like flipping, flipping potato pancakes and stuff. And like, I was like, oh, that's just normal. That's how people are going to do, that's what they do.
That's how you cook, chef.
Yeah, that's how you cook. So low-key injuring my back.
Do you think that chefs were probably historically shorter?
Oh, for sure.
Back in the day?
There's no amount.
There's no tall chefs?
I mean, there probably was, but they probably didn't last long because they didn't have like advanced
chefdom did start
pharmaceuticals to fix to fix whatever fucking back injury or injury they got or took to take time.
That is true.
You take a month off for work, you're done. You're also working at the flour mill.
Back in the day, I feel like the taller you were, you just died earlier.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like if you were over 6 feet tall, you would make it to 15.
Head injuries, unrepairable head injuries.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. But yeah, so I had a really bad back injury that I didn't realize until like a month into opening up the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I would wake up in the middle of the night, and it was almost the sensation of like a guitar string in your arm, moving from like your shoulder into the tips of your fingers, like a metal guitar string, like feeling that inside your arm and it like buzzing sort of. Right. And then my 3 fingertips were numb, and I was just like, this is weird. Let me sleep on my back or something. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, and like my arm would be like, I would like hold it, and it would be like I couldn't move it. It was it was crazy. So I got an MRI, and they basically said like, hey, you have a narrowing in the little canals that the nerves run through. You have an injury to the discs in your back, and don't ride any roller coasters.
Right.
Like, don't ride a roller coaster. Is that how small the margin is for like me being paralyzed for an injury? I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, ADHD. When I move my head in and out, it gets quieter. Is that,
it does.
Okay,
does.
what do I need to do?
No, you don't need to do anything. You're good.
Cool.
Just the AI will smooth out your voice. Chef.
Shut up,
right.
really?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, great. I love
it's all
that.
good, yeah.
Can it smooth out anything
Shout out
else?
to Adobe.
Can it?
Your girl works there. Hey.
Shout out. This is not a paid advertisement, but it is.
They should
And then-
advertise.
but they should if they want to.
You know
We're
what I'm
here.
saying? I heard the other day that if you edit your videos on Premiere, they own it. They own your video.
Shit.
Yeah.
So that mean they want to invest they can invest in the restaurant now or what?
I don't know, man. Nobody's investing in restaurants
You can
for
pay
the
my
next
student
5
loan
years.
bills now.
Yeah.
No, so I had this back injury, and you know, it became serious. I needed to take time off.
Yeah.
And it was at a time where I think that the concept of Slug was kind of struggling because it was so close to Snail Bar.
Yeah.
We were like less than 3 miles away or something. It was very close.
right,
I just
right.
think that like Snail Bar has an amazing
Similar
concept.
food?
Similar food, yeah. And I was like, I was starting to do my own dishes and stuff, but we still had the ham and cheese. We still had a lot of like Snail Bar, basically IP. And I think
Right.
that it was, you know, that was a struggle. And then, you know, it's the second restaurant in a restaurant group. And there was some like, you know, second restaurant problems or like learning how to like address, you know, operational stuff. It was really hard. I was a new manager.
Right.
The owner, Andres, who's an amazing chef, I think it was like, how do we, you know, we're running this restaurant. Snail Bar is like the child, and now we have a second child. And I
Right.
think that like that's hard for any restaurant group.
Yeah.
But I basically was like, hey, I need to take some time off. This is like a pretty serious injury. Because I was like trying to sit down a lot and like do my work sitting, and even sitting, it would just be a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So I had to take specific medication that are like suppress nerve response and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like back medication. So just being around knives in general is not a good, you know.
Right.
And I'm like trying to expo, you know, on this medication
Just
and
being
stuff.
like this.
Yeah, you know, and people, I couldn't turn my head, dude. It was
You're
like, it was like Michael Keaton Batman, where he would be like, huh? And it was like that bad.
Yeah.
People were like, hey, chef. And I'd be like this. What's up? And I'm like, that's not, you know, that's not helping.
That's not normal. Yeah, just go.
Yeah, I couldn't
Swing
couldn't do that.
your neck around.
Couldn't do that.
That's bad too. I feel like I'm too loose. Like I might.
You need to tighten it up.
snap my neck,
Like
my
two
own
giraffes
neck.
fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm too double jointed in weird places to be moving around that fast.
Yeah, right. I know
You
you
know?
got that rubber band, man.
Can't stop yourself.
I too should probably suffer from too much movement in the neck and head. But at that time I couldn't. So it was just it was hard to lead a kitchen when I was that way. And
Yeah.
I think that like the space didn't really need a chef. It needed sort of a kitchen manager.
Right,
I think that
right,
like
right.
we should have deconceptualized a little bit, make the food more simple. So I was like, here, let me pitch this idea. Let's sort of like repackage the concept a little bit to be a little bit more casual. You know, fried fish sandwich and, you know, some casual food, something that kind of differentiates a little bit from Snail Bar. And then I can take time, take time away from the restaurant. So I did that. I took, you know, and I was just like, I think that I'd rather, you know, take time away and just heal. Cause I was really nervous. I was like, why am I working someone else's restaurant, working on someone else? Like the doctor was like, you know, this is a degenerative disease. Basically it gets worse as you get older.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's not a lot we can do aside from, you know, if you have surgery is surgery. It's like on your back, you know, there's a lot of other problems, and everyone was like, don't get surgery if you don't need it. Like it could go very bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, I freaked the shit out of me. I want to take time off and let this heal. So I took some time off, and I was resting, and luckily the inflammation went away, and basically the disc kind of went back into the vertebrae.
Oh, it went back. Your body was like, fixed it.
Basically what happens is when the inflammation happens, like the disc sort of bulges out.
Yeah.
And a slip disc it pops out, you know, and then there's varying levels of how much that disc comes
How
out.
much it slipped.
And at the worst case, it becomes so pinched, or like slipped out that like a piece of the disc actually separates out. It no longer has any connection to the disc that's in your spine.
Yeah.
And then that's when they have to like do surgery and get that out of there. So luckily it didn't get that bad, but it got very close, and I was very nervous. So I took time off, and luckily I feel a lot better, but I still have to I just can't do what I used to. I have to get the 600 hotel pan. Like the ergonomics in kitchens are so extremely poor in general, because everything is a metal table at a specific set industry height. Everything is the same size. It's a one size fits all approach in a multitude size of people world.
Yeah.
And when you're tall, you have to make those adjustments, or else you're going to deal with back pain and,
Yeah.
pain and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that's, I think for me, was really eye-opening, is that it's just the idea of like advocating for yourself that I was never felt entitled to do for a really long time. I was just asked for the things that I need. I'm like, hey, I'm going to work. Oh, is that how you set up your station? I'm going to work like this because I can't
taller,
fucking,
right.
I can't fucking become disabled from this job. So I need to work this way. So in a grand scheme, I was like, wow, I've been working in restaurants for a long time, and I've always wanted to have my own restaurant. And this back injury basically showed me that I was like, wow, my physical ability is limited by the amount of time I have. You know, I'm not going to be out there fucking like cooking until I'm 9. I mean, I'm sure I will be cooking until I'm 9, but not like in a restaurant. I just physically, I'm not going to be able to do that. You know, most people aren't and still do it, but I'm just like, wow, this is scary, because I want to be able to, I want to save all my agility, my +5 agility for my own restaurant. Essentially. So it's like, it made me kind of realize, like, if I'm going to do this thing, I need to start doing it soon.
You think there's Chef Fitness?
I remember there's a LA Times, there's an article that Mark Peel wrote, RIP. He was Campanile, Nancy Silverton's ex, but they owned.
Oh, right.
They owned Campanile, which is where what's the restaurant that's like in the castle looking space in LA? Fuck, I was totally forgetting the name. Walter Mansky's restaurant.
Mansky?
Republic.
Oh, okay.
So Republic.
He does have another one that's just Mansky, right?
I think it closed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a fine dining tasting.
Yeah.
It got a lot
like
of press.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it looked really fucking cool.
LA is kind of having a hard time right now because OTM, I think, is
my God, such a fucking
closing.
bummer.
And
you know,
I
restaurant was so fucking cool, because like you would look at the dishes and you would see that the effort that went into it, and like the conception and and the volume they did. That was always so cool to see that type of volume and that type of like quality and ethic and food and sourcing and all that stuff, and just how they did it. And I don't know, I think most likely, I think from their Instagram post, it was like they dug a hole with COVID like everyone does, and they just weren't able to get back out.
As a pop-up, does that scare you from wanting a brick and mortar?
I mean, the realities of owning a restaurant, it's the law of diminishing return. You know, I think that like no matter what, those realities are real. They're not going anywhere. I don't think it's going to get easier.
No, definitely not.
You know, food will continue to get more expensive.
Yep.
That's the reality of
so will
more
labor.
People, less space, labor, and like God bless it. Like, you know, if we're paying people a living wage now, that's amazing. You know, I'm not gonna fight that wave. You know, I think if you're gonna complain about minimum wage, like you're in the wrong industry.
Right.
You know? Like,
right.
And as a business owner, it just realizes that the things that I thought mattered, I have to be more flexible with. But it scares me, yes, when I see huge restaurants go like that. But also I think that like the lifeline or the like the life cycle of restaurants is a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think every restaurant in the world should be like Green's restaurant that's been open since 1979. The fucking House of Prime Rib, like legacy status. I think there's a lot of factors that have to go into it. Part of it maybe being either owning the building or having a great deal with your landlord.
Yeah.
But most restaurants have a life cycle, and that's a separate thing. But I think that like I've tried to really, through the pop-ups, just really try and like figure out what am I flexible on, what are my negotiable, what are my non-negotiables, and realizing like, hey, if we had to do takeout as a feature of the menu, not on like DoorDash or any of the apps, not that there's anything wrong with that, but if we had to do that, would I be comfortable with that? And I'm like, fuck yeah, if someone wants to come in and place a takeout order for like the fucking, you know, Côte de Boeuf with like all the dips and stuff like that, like fucking why not? You know, they're living in the neighborhood and they want to eat at home, God bless them, you know? So that, you know, it just realizes that I have to be more dynamic and a little bit more, you know, really, if you're going to say like, no, we're not doing this, like you got to have a good fucking reason for saying why we're not going to do this, you know?
Yeah. Legit.
Being flexible or staffing or whatever the situation is.
I think you got the golden goose, man.
I don't know about that.
You know,
maybe.
man, you do. You have a concept that you can take anywhere.
It's not the goose I'm worried about. It's the exterior of the shell.
Right. Yeah.
Better be the golden egg. I don't know about the golden goose.
Right. Well, I think you have a freedom that most chefs don't have.
I appreciate that.
You know, and you get to work with legends that most chefs will never work with at all. Like at all.
I wake up in the morning. I'm like, how the fuck?
Yeah, dude.
I'm really waiting for someone to like and like pull the matrix cord out of my
But they're
spine.
not going to.
And I wake up and like
Right.
I'm like floating in jelly, and then it's all. I would be stoked, honestly. I'm like,
But it's not.
Yeah,
It's not gonna happen for you, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
it is
feels
gonna work
crazy.
out.
Thank you.
You know,
I appreciate it.
like as I see the hard work that you put in, and I know the person that you are.
Thank you,
Right.
man. I really appreciate that.
Therefore, it is what it is, and I think that what is the imposter syndrome or whatever the fuck?
It's real.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
You know, like
feel you.
I feel like I feel like as chefs that we grow older and we grow a little bit more compassionate, but we forget that there is a cutthroat cook behind that.
Yeah.
That you can reach back and be when you need to be.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And that it's important to keep that.
Yeah.
Because if you shed your cook just because you're a chef, come on.
Well, I think that the thing I always remember is that like I brute forced a lot of learning for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always felt like I always came into the restaurant in any new restaurant I'm in. I always came in with the mindset like I'm the least important person in the kitchen.
Right. Definitely.
As a motivating factor, and it really helped. I think just like helped set the tone a little bit, but also I think that like I never had that like level of competitiveness where it's like head to head. I could fucking take this guy. Like we used to joke. We used to joke at like at Red. We were like 10 versus 1. You know, you got 10 people again. Like, how many guys could that guy take? Not in like a fighting stand, but almost sort of like if you're on like, I take this cook. You know, I take my sous chef Nino, whatever. Like, he could. It was like a 5v1, and he fucking held his own for like 25 minutes. You know, you're like,
that's
like
crazy.
Those crazy Russian videos of the cage fighting where it's like a 5 versus 1 fight. Like, one guy's like 9'5".
They're wearing jeans for some reason.
You're like,
a lot of them. You're like, is this at a bar?
Yeah.
Although maybe the next pop-up is at a boxing match.
That would be tremendous.
That'd be fucking epic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're like
just like very not even. It's just like a fucking ring next to a table.
If it could be a fight going on in the boxing match, but I'm like, and for your next course,
yeah, that's
like,
what I'm saying. Like you're not even like paying any attention to it.
Yeah, and someone's just like, oh, this is great. And they get like fucking absolutely fucking blasted.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you started Hadeem after you left Slug.
Yeah, just hey, FYI, there's gonna be a lot of fucking sidebars and side quests tonight.
That happens.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, it happens.
I think in retrospect, I'm always like
two chefs on ADHD. You
oh
can't.
my god, yeah,
We're so high on it right now. I don't take any medicine for it. Do you?
Really? I just started actually.
Really?
Yeah,
what did you start with?
So
what you got?
When I was a kid, I took medication and I didn't give a fuck about school, so it didn't really help me in school because I didn't have.
Same.
I've learned that without. When you take medication, but you don't have any of the coping mechanisms that go with it, it doesn't really help.
Right.
For me personally, I'm not a medical professional. This is non-medical advice. But I found that I didn't have the coping mechanism. I didn't have the consistency in my life. I didn't have anything else helping me be consistent for it to do the thing. So I would just hyper-focus, which is great. I can get stuff done. But if I didn't realize, okay, well, this is the important thing you have to do or not do, it didn't help. It wasn't until I got to college and went to Cal Poly Pomona, this like restaurant management program.
Yeah.
That I was like, holy shit, school is important to me because I like it and I enjoy it. I realized what my study skills needed to be, what I needed to do to be successful in an academic environment. I couldn't sit in the back of the classroom. I had to sit in the front of the classroom. I had to ask a lot of questions. I needed to go home, do my homework, and like pull all my study materials like into my cave and like literally close the blinds, put in earplugs so I couldn't have any external any external distraction.
Yeah.
And then that's how I could focus on my homework and get it done. And those were like study skills, right? For me, that's what I need to be successful. And consistency, knowing that like if I wait to the last minute, I can't ask questions about progress reports and stuff like that.
Right.
So all that stuff, without all that shit, medication didn't really help me. And then conversely, once I went into a kitchen, I was like, oh, I did great in school. I was taking medication. I should try it out and see. Horrible. It was. I was trying to I was trying to hyper focus on like, these turned artichokes are have to be the. I remember Eloy gave me a demo on like turned artichokes, and he did one fast because it's Eloy. He's
right. Best knife skills I've ever
Jesus
seen to this day.
Christ, dude. Goddamn. Talk about who would you have on your side in like a 5v1? Oh my God, Eloy. Yeah. Slow center of gravity.
Yeah,
you're not taking him down.
Stiff neck.
Yeah, dude, right? So he showed me how to turn the artichoke.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, okay. And then boom. And I realized it was that unique combination of slow and bad. But I was so focused. So that kind of like hyper focus didn't work well, especially if like highly distractible things bother you because you're trying to focus. So like, hey, the market's here, and you're like, fuck, I just feel like I got the repetition. Like, and physically,
market's here.
Yeah, hey Spencer, and I'm like, God damn it, like
one artichoke takes 3 hours.
So the consistency issue was really hard, and like dealing with distractions, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then personal organization. I've never been, you're like, chef, where's your tweezers? And I'm like, and they're like in someone's fucking 9-pan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck.
Or in your hand.
In my hand. That's the worst one.
That's the worst one.
When someone's like, chef, they're in your hand.
Yeah,
literally. That's as like when I'm like doing an event with someone, they're like, chef, your pen's here. But like, imagine like, you're in your fucking hand, guy. Right. Where are they?
I tell everyone what to expect.
Oh,
before
prompting
a night
everyone.
Of service.
Prompting everyone is extremely important.
I will like put shit down and forget that it's there. Like immediately after.
If you have a pen on your apron, I will ask you for it.
Your lighter, like whatever it is, I'm gonna need some help.
Yeah.
And I might, like I don't have to do it with you, but sometimes I'll like say to the person, I might interrupt you. It's not because I don't want to listen to you and I don't have a cadence to the way I talk. I'm gonna forget what I need to say to you if I don't say it.
Do you start a sentence and don't know how to finish it, and someone's like, spoon?
Right.
I do. I'll do this thing where I'll start to be like,
you correct people.
That's an impulsivity thing.
I'm that one.
Yeah.
When it's like I already kind of know what the person's gonna say, what their sentence is.
Oh,
and
dude!
Oh
my God!
So I can like predict it, and then I've already got the answer in my head.
Because you're you're like,
and
you
like,
want to show someone that you're
and
engaged.
Then you're like, and then they're like,
when someone's giving me instruction, and I'm like, okay, so you're gonna take your 9-pan, and I'm like, they're like, can you just let me? I get that. This engagement is great. The excitement. Let's keep all that energy inside and listen.
You can do it after.
Exactly. Gavin from the Morris is like, I remember. Because I was helping out doing some events, and I was helping out there a couple days a week while I was kind of like prepping there. And he would like, he would tell me, he was like, oh yeah, man, this drives me in the wild when you're like, when you're like telling someone something and they want, and you're telling them and then they interrupt you. And I was like, with the next thought. And I was like, but I interrupted him to say that. And I didn't realize, I was like, oh, this is the thing he's talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so. All of those things go into just not having a lot of control and impulse control. And a big one is like you're standing at your station and you're like prepping and you're like, fuck, did I put the produce order in? And you stop what you're doing to do the produce order. Yeah. In the middle of prep, or like you're like, did I fucking leave the lid off on that container?
Yeah.
And you go and check the fucking container and you're like,
then there's like 4 other things that call your attention.
And then you're like, wow, I've done actually nothing today.
Yeah.
So those things, and now I've through fucking kicking and screaming and really digging it out, I've learned. But medication, it took a long time. Now that I'm sort of in this business opening phase where I need to have more prolonged attention, like spreadsheets and reading, fucking legal documents or whatever, like, tax stuff, all that stuff is like where I'm doing more back end computer stuff. It's really helpful. And it's actually allowed me to realize that like, wow, this kitchen, like it's helped for the kitchen stuff too. Cause I realize I'm just more self-aware now.
Yeah.
So I think just being, I wasn't, I didn't have enough coaching, which I started getting an ADHD sort of coach, which was a fucking game changer.
Really?
Oh my God. Wow. That if there's one thing that everyone takes away with this, sure, Hadeem's great. Thank you so much. But if you have ADHD, get some fucking coaching for ADHD. Because look,
that's crazy.
I have had a lot of therapy.
I
have child divorced parents, bad behavior in school, I dropped out of high school, got my GED, all that stuff.
You cook for a living?
Yeah. I'm not doing this because I'm good at cooking.
That sounds like every cook
that's
ever.
That's my joke that people sometimes don't know if it's a joke. And I'm not doing this because I'm good at cooking.
Right.
And they're like, what?
I had no other choice, you sons of bitches. Okay, this is where the pirates were. This is where I am.
This is
my
only
people.
job. Yeah. So I got ADHD coaching.
Yeah.
And it was great because it didn't feel like therapy.
Right.
Therapy is its own thing. For some people it works, for some people it doesn't.
Right.
But I would really enjoy it because the opposite of therapy is someone telling you what to do. I love the ADHD coaching because they fucking tell you what to do and they say what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
Once that opened the door that there's a whole fucking study of how to help people with ADHD, it's like, oh, that's why I leave doors open to cabinets because I like seeing what's inside of them while I'm working. That's why I like hooks on walls because I don't have to open something to the death of me putting something away is a two-step process. If I have to pull a container out, lift a lid, it's never going away in the place it should. For some reason, the emotional lift, thought process, the time it takes to think of like, oh, I have to take out this container. I can't work with one hand because I'm holding a fucking spoon in my hand. Right. I can't multitask.
Why am I letting the spoon go?
Yeah. Like, what do you need the spoon for?
Yeah, dude.
Like a baby eating from a fucking.
I'll find myself doing that with pens, like opening doors with a pen in my hand.
Like, hey,
like, why am I doing this?
Let's give ourselves to work with two hands here.
Exactly. Like if you go for a fall, you don't have any way to stop yourself.
Yeah, right.
You know
it's going right in your eye, like
safe.
Fucking Dark Knight. You know.
You don't want that, chef.
No.
Like Dark Knight, sick movie.
Sick
movie. Damn, I'm the opposite. I put shit away. I tuck it in.
Who in your family? Oh, or you're a hider.
A hider. Yeah,
you're a piler. You'll make hidden piles.
Yeah,
but it's not organization.
Yeah,
that's my problem.
It's not. Yeah, but I do know the level of my disorganization, so I allow there to be a place where I can put all the shit that I need, but it's in a disorganized way.
It's the drop zone.
Yeah,
you realize where the drop, like it's in fucking Call of Duty. You know when you're like calling in the drop zone, blah, blah, blah. And it's like the 3D, this is where it will go. Mm-hmm. I've learned that the things I leave there, if I'm like, I leave my jacket on the floor, I leave my fucking whatever, I'm like, that's where it actually should live. You just need a container for it. It's like, you're like, we have this thing with like all the fucking market, the little fucking bags, nice from the farmer's market. Thank you. This is the Hadeem available on the Sucio Talk merch store.
Boom.
No,
that thing's sexy.
Thank you. It's not quite functional. It's a little small, but
it's all right, chef.
It's all right. We'll make it work.
Sure, there's a lot of men that have that same. Pause.
Look right in the camera for that one.
There you
go. Basically, like if you have a space or whatever that we have these market bags, these canvas bags that I have all the way in a cupboard, all the way in my kitchen. And then I go out, I use them, and I take everything out, and they're just kind of by the door. That's where they should live. They should live by the door. They shouldn't live, because then it's not hard to put them back. You just find a drawer for them to live right near there. Or if you're like, I clean the whole house, everything's clean, but I leave out the Windex. The Windex stays out for 2 weeks. And you're like, fuck, why is the Windex the thing that fucking took me down? You should have two locations to store it. You should have a bathroom store, a small bottle, and then a bathroom in the kitchen. That way you're not bringing the same bottle all over the fucking kitchen.
That's why I do that.
Does you do that too? You're like, it's this one thing.
I need two chargers.
Leave them
one
there.
One at work, one at home.
The luxury
of
the additional thing. It may seem like, oh, why do you have 4 of these? You don't need 4. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Those are that's like that's my stat. I'm like, that's prepared. That means I go to that location. There's a charger there for me. I don't have to look for it.
I don't have to bring it with me because I'm not going to. I'm not going to remember it,
and I'm just not going to have a charger.
Definitely not.
So let me stash these. Yeah. So outwardly it looks like hoarding. To me, it's not. To me, it's like I have all my mise en place in each location. I bring it with me.
Well, you have stations.
Stations set up, right?
That's why we're That's why I think cooking and ADHD kind of works.
It does work.
Everything goes in its own place, and it's a repetitive nature. That's why New Dish Day is fucking
Hey, chefs out there, don't
bro.
do New Dish Day on a Friday. Don't fucking do it. Don't do it to your team.
Yeah,
you could do it. You could do it on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Don't pretend like you can't do it on a Thursday. There's a market on Thursday. You don't have to do it on Friday or Saturday. Do it on Monday. Test it out.
Yeah.
See if you want to change anything mid-service.
You can also just
fucking know you will
sell 2 of them.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to. You don't have to do 40.
What if you actually tested it with 2 of them? Is that why? And then you just scaled the recipe up.
That's the way it should be.
For you?
I feel like you should do it for 1 table, 1 2-top, and then you should do it to 2 4-tops.
Do the VIP.
And then you should just double it until it's on the menu, and then you're good.
Imagine your baby soft ego when you give it to one table and like, oh my God, an off-menu snack. We love this. Thank you.
Right.
And then you do it to another table, and then that's it. Monday, everyone else does the work for you. They've already figured out how to execute the dish.
Yeah.
No one's figuring out what you want mid-service. And then hey chef, how do you make more of this? Wait, chef's gone. It's 8:30. What happened?
Right. We can't recreate it because he hasn't taught us well enough.
And then boom. Okay, are we running a new dish? I don't know. We got to put in orders. Wait, it's Saturday. Are we gonna run it over the weekend? See, exactly.
Right.
All these things.
I think what I've learned over the years is that you got to set up your systems to be nonverbal communication.
Oh,
through colors and numbers and letters, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Like
visual cues.
Yeah, all the reach-ins, the fridges need to be labeled with some kind of sequential thing to know.
You have to designate the space, right? You have to designate the space, or else, what's his name? The chef from Faviken was like, any detail that you can control in a kitchen, any detail that can be controlled, you should control.
Should be controlled, yeah.
But the hard part is any detail that you can't control, don't try and control it. Don't try and implement control on something that you can't control. No matter how much I designate in a purchase in like what do you call it, a fucking invoice, or when I put in an order.
Right.
No matter how much I say, hey, this should come in. We need it to be delivered at 11:30 because the prep cooks need to do X, Y, and Z. We're going to do this project. No matter what you do, it's not going to get delivered on that time, or it might be late or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't try and control it.
No,
but
exactly.
What you can control is, here's how you should structure your day if so-and-so delivery arrives late.
Right.
Like control. So
contingency plans for your fuck-ups.
Fucking plans. Yeah. You're like, somebody's they're going to do it. Yeah. Don't just have the hope that it's not going to get fucked up. It's going to happen.
I feel like employees need runway. And that's what most...
To make errors, and no one gives them
No one gives... Yeah.
No one says, hey, what do we do if you fucked us up?
Exactly.
No one says it ahead of time, because then you have to rely on their decision-making skill to fix a problem instead of the toolbox that you have. You're like, hey, you fucking forgot the order?
Right.
That's fine. Hey, that's okay. Don't do it again.
Right.
I can place a new order.
Right. There's a credit card in the office.
There's
the
a credit
code
card
is 1 2 3 4.
It's very unsafe.
It's like
the address.
Yeah,
if you want to steal money from a restaurant, it's probably the address.
Exactly. So it's like probably just like I would like, if I was a chef, I would leave what is one of those cards you could just like put money on.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, hey,
there's
a prepaid card. It's got $1,000 on it. Like, yeah, you guys burned all the fucking lamb roast for tomorrow's 350 person event. Take that $1,000
and
go buy more. Yeah, and
Instacart.
Cook it. But like that's an option that's like last minute.
It's
something
terrible.
that I would set it up.
But what is the outcome that you feel is the worst for your guests?
Right.
Not having lamb.
Yeah, that's very chef like. Oh, I didn't bring lamb to your wedding because it wasn't up to par.
It wasn't up to par. Who fucking parred it? Yeah. I
didn't understand my directions.
Set the fucking immersion circulator at 65. She set it to 65 Fahrenheit.
That'd be like that with like old catering husband-wife duos. They're like arguing and shit.
Yeah, they're like,
shut the fuck up, Ron.
So it's my wedding. Can we just... You want me to order pizza?
Yeah, exactly. I would honestly, you know what I've turned on to? It's like, I went to this party. I had a work party, and I was like, man, like I told my chef at the time, I was like, I don't want you cooking on the weekend, like for everybody. He's like, don't worry. And so all he did was like, he cooked one thing, which was a brisket, and then he ordered Mexican food and Chinese food.
That's fucking...
So he's like, I cooked something, but I don't have to feed everyone. And it was like dope to have egg rolls in the sun.
Good fucking move,
dude. It was the best move. I'm like, I'm doing this for every single cookout that I do.
Yeah, it's like it's the combination of like purchased and like.
Yeah,
I was a private chef for a little bit while I was when we were getting ready to go to New York.
Yeah.
And there was this combination of like they had this supermarket right near them that they really, really liked. Mm-hmm. And I would go and shop for there, but I would like sort of like compound certain things with stuff that's like somewhat pre-made. So like they have red salsa that's good, right? So I'll get that, and then I'll add fucking, roasted tomatillo. I'll add, I'll fucking add in all these things like more spices and all that stuff. And you kind of build on it. So it looked like I came with all these things, and it was sort of like fucking semi-homemade, bro.
Yeah.
Fucking Sandra Lee.
Dude, she makes it better than you. You know what I mean? You're not going to make
cocktail
pound
game,
cake better than Sara Lee.
Strong cocktail game.
I've never had a fresh pound cake that was good.
I don't think they're meant to be
from
fresh.
Anyone.
Who even makes a fresh pound cake,
I don't know. I feel like I like to do pound cake breadcrumbs on like ice cream dishes.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Just bake it a little bit or toast it in a hearth. That's dope.
Ooh,
so you get the burnt tips.
Yeah.
Chef, come on.
Done. The hearth.
Let's go.
The hearth.
You just got to bring a hearth truck with you to have a hearth.
The restaurant burnt down, but we have the hearth.
Exactly.
The hearth crumbs are fucking Soigné.
Dude,
chef.
if you're catering and doing house events, I was just talking to Henry Hamilton, who's executive chef at Twitch in the city. Bring a contingency grill. Either a Conroy or a Weber, charcoal, fire starter, cater wrapped, ready to go. If the house that you go to doesn't have, like, if you can't cook on the stove or something, because sometimes they're like, it's an antique, it's my grandmother's. And I'm like, yeah, well, fuck your grandmother, because she's not a professional chef.
She wasn't a cook, huh?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, so.
Yeah.
Well, not a Sucio talk if you don't say fuck your grandmother, huh?
Grandma Judy, I love you if you're watching this.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Maria.
Yeah.
And love you, Irma.
Let me shout out Yaya.
Yeah.
There, my Yaya.
There you go. You know, my
she'd be very confused if she saw any of the
I
food I was
right?
making to this day. She's like, what the fuck are you doing to those dolma?
Yeah.
Well, so basically the ADHD thing was like the medication rule was really helpful, but within a certain context. So
right. What is it called, the medicine you're taking?
So I'm taking Adderall.
Okay. Slow release?
The extended release, yeah, because I don't like the feeling of just being fucking shot on a rocket ship every morning when I wake up.
And do you take it every morning?
Yeah. For me, so there's, again, not medical advice, but there's two different sort of thoughts. One is that having a consistent behavioral pattern by taking the medication all the time as you need to. And then the other one is like, project-based sort of. But to me, like, I'm trying to have a consistent personality. Like, if I'm, I don't want to just interrupt someone or be impulsive about decision making or not be able to focus on like the house just because I didn't have a lot of stuff to do that day. So to me personally, it feels helpful to use this medication.
What did you find was the main difference? Like, what was the first thing you noticed that you're like, oh?
I think that like it felt like I could separate thoughts out a little bit more. The idea of these like knee-jerk reactions you make and impulse response and stuff allowed me to be just a little bit more self-aware about that feeling of like, here's this internal rhythm that's like, and like everything has to happen on that rhythm, and being able to slow that down a little bit was really helpful.
It's like step back from it.
And again, a lot of this I think came from the cognitive awareness I got from a little bit of the coaching. Because at first someone was like, hey, if this medication, we should also suggest the coaching. And I was like, I don't know. She was like, it's on Zoom. And I was like, the last thing I want to do is be on a Zoom call with 25 other people in like a group therapy setting that all have ADHD.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just fucking talking about like everyone's talking about like, there's like,
it sounds like a Misfits concert.
Dude, I know, right? It's like it's in the mosh pit.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's driving a plane while they're like watching the video. Like,
right. That's my work music. And some, one day I was working, and they're like, hey, put some work music on, and I
group
fucking
therapy, the background of group therapy, or
it's huge. It's like metal, right? I work to really intense music, and the way I see it is it shuts down all the other thoughts
Oh, interesting.
You know, because
so you're using it as like a sonic blanket,
basically to
for like everything else going on.
Yeah, so I can focus on either a recipe or a prep or because you're right, you'll be cutting an onion and be like, what's wrong with the whatever?
Is that fan? That fan sounds weird. Let me fucking take apart the.
That's what I mean.
Oven. Yeah.
That's why I'm like, just noise. I do the same thing while driving.
Yeah.
I have to like kind of blast some music to be able to focus on the, like just driving.
Control your Yeah.
Yeah, because then if not, like I'm the kind of guy who'll be like.
And then you're like,
you know what I'm saying?
You're like in the river. You're like in the bay.
Yeah.
In the car. You're like,
I do a lot of this. Oh, well, I almost fucking died right there. God damn. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't know if it's my body just being like, you know what? You need a wake up call or you need a rush.
Hey, let me just fucking.
It's those mental blurry lines on the highway of.
Yeah. I love that. You're like,
you ever just scare yourself? Have to turn down the radio?
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay. Let me readjust here.
Like
crisis averted.
Yeah, exactly. Your whole life could flash before your eyes.
Fuck, man. And you're like, man.
I feel like when you get older, though,
wish I spent more time on vacation.
Yeah, there you go. Is that a thought that you ever have when you're working this much and you're moving around like this? You're like, well, I see you vacation a lot. You definitely get it in.
Well, the
too.
pop-up life is
a vacation.
You turn it on and you turn it off, right? Yeah, thank you. I know. It's honestly, it's a luxury to be able to do this.
Definitely.
Having a partner, everyone talks about like, one, I think if you're a cook at any point, and you want to be a chef, there's no such thing as ready, only ready enough. And you look and you say, do I have enough skills? Do I know what I would need to do to open up my own business? If not, is it easily for me to attain that information? If you have a desire, if you want to open up your own restaurant, like you have to start working on it at some point. You can't just like quit your job and then decide to start working on it. It has to be a thought.
Right.
Something has to be guiding I'm going to go work at this restaurant because they deal with fish butchery and I want to eventually have a restaurant that does fish. Or I'm going to go work at this restaurant because they have like a really smart wine program that I like and I want to fucking see how you have to be banking it. Like I'm going to go, there's a skill-based thing here. I might not be in love with the food, but I'm going to learn how to manage high volume at a restaurant, or if you're not thinking like that, like you're almost wasting your time sort of, like what are you doing? Because it's not easy. It's very hard. I don't even have my own restaurant yet. We're working towards it, but I know that it's going to be challenging. But I'm like, I'm learning. I feel like I'm come close to starting to acquire those skills. And like, if you're not actively thinking about that, like, what is your purpose? Like you have to be engaged in that in some sense. And that was like, I think that was a big realization for when I was leaving Slug, was like, I'm ready to fucking do this.
Yeah.
And like, I have a limited amount of time. And like I went and I took some time off. I was like, I don't want to cook. So some friends of mine were like, hey, we're going on this trip to Japan.
Yeah.
We're going on like my buddy, Michael Misko. He's a Sioux at Seven Adams. And he was like, hey, he travels all the time. He lived in Thailand, worked in Thailand. He's just one of those guys. He just loves, he loves just like immersing himself, He was like, I'm going on this trip. We're going to go to Japan, Taiwan, Bangkok, and Bali. And I had never taken a trip like that before. Really, like holidays for us were like we would go for Passover to like our uncle or aunt's house in like another state, and that was what we did for the spring vacation.
Yeah.
And it's like you would have to go to a museum with your uncle, and he tells you what the artist had for lunch before he made the painting. It's like stuff like that, which was super cool. I enjoyed it, learned a lot that way, but it wasn't like we didn't take like vacations. Like let's go and my parents just didn't have the money for it to like go and additionally have that type of travel.
Yeah.
So it was amazing to go on this trip, and like I realized then, and a little part of this was COVID too, like being able to fucking like have brunch with Gina, my fiance, and like do all those things.
Do regular shit
that realized that like I don't think this is a matter of not liking these things. I do enjoy these things.
It's just not doing them.
I thought it was like shameful for a chef to be like, oh, you enjoy going to brunch? Fuck yeah, I like going to brunch. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Get drunk on a Sunday and eat fucking poached eggs with hollandaise. Who doesn't like that?
It take the shame away from a lot of stuff.
Oh my God,
like leaving the restaurant and going to be a personal chef, or
because I think I'm such a fucking cretin. I always enjoyed those. The physical take time. I enjoyed that stuff, and I always felt like if I enjoyed it, I wasn't going to be successful. And I realized I was just kind of like not being efficient with my time. Right. You know, now I'm like, do you need to, if you have an event coming, do you need 2 weeks to prep for an event, or can you just focus and get it all done in 3 days? You don't need to spend 2 weeks of your time.
No,
for this
definitely
60-person event. Like the food doesn't come out any better. You just take more time to do it. I think it's called like Frederick's Law or something. It's like people get the job done in the amount of time that you give them, right? You tell me you have 6 hours today on your day off or whatever, half day.
Yeah.
And I need to do laundry. I'm doing that motherfucking laundry an hour before I need to.
Right.
You know,
No,
it's like,
same thing,
like,
yeah.
You know, it's like, it's very hard.
Deadlines.
I need that structure. And by taking time off, I sort of learned to appreciate that structure, because then I was more focused the time that I was at work.
That's a good point that you make, because I went through that as a personal chef. And I wasn't quite ready for it. So I went the bad habit route, where I'm like, 2 weeks into it, I just realized, like, I'm like fucking drinking every night, bro.
Yeah,
I gotta
dude,
fucking
like,
stop.
yeah,
What am I doing? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you just look
This
and you're
isn't a
like,
cruise.
That must be my ADHD shit. Like, this isn't a cruise. Exactly. I'm living in Palm Springs, just my first time away from working restaurant hours. And I'm like,
oh my God, the floodgates that must have
dude,
opened, you're like, holy
I'm just
shit.
working for this dude who's super easy.
Yeah.
Cook for him 3 times a day, hot tub and pool right outside my pool house where I was staying. So it was just like, every night at fucking 9 p.m. because that's when he went to bed. I'd be out there with a fucking,
oh my God,
with like a big tall drink from his big ass bar and whatever the fuck. Just like, damn.
But that's like what people do when they get out of their 9-to-5 job.
That's what I'm saying.
They relax. They fucking do that. They're not like, let me get out of work. I've been at work for 12 hours. Let me get out of work. Fuck, did I place my order? Let me spend 35 minutes looking at the walk-in.
Yeah.
And then you fucking spend another 20 sharpening your knives.
Yeah.
Or an hour, whatever it is, doing the fucking thing. You get home. You're like, I haven't eaten anything all day. I just peed for the first time today. Holy shit. That can't be healthy.
Right.
And then you
peed for the first time today. That is so fucking real, bro.
You're like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
You didn't have 45 seconds to, fucking a minute and a half. You didn't have time to do that.
Yeah.
Including time to wash your hands.
That's thinking like a cook.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's
You're
how
like,
cooks think.
You didn't like people.
Yeah.
They go to work.
I didn't have time to eat. I didn't have time to do anything for myself.
You're like
you need to make the time.
The
first
person,
of all.
yeah, the person who says that, I'm like, bro, are you washing your hands?
Yeah,
Do you make time to wash your fucking hands?
Time to wash your
you know,
hands,
when someone says shit like that,
what does your
you're like,
bedroom look like?
Yeah, I remember fucking Chef Kat when I was like, I was not doing a great job at fucking metal, but she was like, she's trying to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me. Like, she was like, what's this kid's fucking deal? And she was like, when you go home, do you like take off your pants? Do you like fold them, put them away, or do you just fucking leave them right where you fucking And I didn't even answer because I knew she knew.
I knew it was the latter.
I knew, and I was just like,
yo.
And she was like, damn it. And I was like, fuck.
The best
Does it
thing.
look like a wizard disappeared every, like 5 people in your room and their clothes just dropped on the floor, like poof, and they disappeared them. Is that what it looks like?
Right. Well, she just knew us.
Yeah,
because she knew you really quickly. Like, could be like, oh, I know what kind of person you are.
Which is, I think, a very attuned skill to being a chef. People, understanding people.
I had a funny story about that. I used to leave the cartilage in the poisson. Like, I just didn't clean it all the way off. Like, and then she's like, I was up last night thinking about why you leave the cartilage on the poisson. And I was like, only you would be thinking about that. And she's like, I get it. She's like, you're Puerto Rican. You're Latino. You eat cartilage. I'm like, yeah, I do eat cartilage. And she's like, that's probably why your brain is like, not like, this is disgusting. Pull this out of here. And why you're not that careful with it.
First of all, cartilage is fucking delicious.
I fucking love it.
Yeah,
I
understand.
I love it on Korean barbecue tips.
The hermetically sealed bubble that fine dining has to take place in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you have to, the culture that you're cooking, the cuisine that you're cooking for, or in the bubble, has to give permission to cartilage.
Right.
It's a modern Korean tasting menu.
The
cartilage all the way. If it's a French-inspired tasting menu and you leave a little cartilage in the thing, because someone had a whoopsies.
Yeah, dude, don't fuck around. I'll make a fucking cartilage ice.
Yeah,
Serve
right.
that shit for dessert.
Dude, there was that fucking.
They'll be chewing their ice cream.
There was there was like a potato dish with like fucking brunoise raw potato and like a beurre monte with like smoked trout roe in it, and then like beef tendon.
Oh,
like
the tendon soup. Yeah,
Tendon,
yeah.
That was the dish, and I was like, "Who the fuck?"
Yeah, it was weird, bro. I learned how to cook it, and I'm like, it's really good, but really weird.
You gotta like
you have to have 18 other courses to make up for that.
I love the element in a tasting when you can really pull it out and give someone a stinker.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, you got 18 courses to play around.
Let me test you a little bit.
You can test.
So it's like I like to like really push people's boundaries. You mean like, oh, you like to give them something that's straight up not delicious.
Straight up, cucumber risotto. Great fucking seriously.
The thought of the cucumber seed though fucking blew my mind.
Yeah.
Using the seeds like that. That shit's fucking.
I mean, maybe I was the idiot. I'm the one pressing it
jelly.
and like making his dreams come true by doing that dish, And it's like every time I made it, I'm like, this can't be good. Like what fucking culture is this from?
Well, you know that feeling of like, am I too dumb to get it?
Yeah.
When you're like, I worked at a lot of restaurants where I'm like, oh, I don't really get this dish. Am I too dumb to get it? Is it because I don't get the reference?
Right.
Is it because I'm not seeing the genius?
I like to see things like that all the time.
Like
not just a new recipe,
crazy,
just everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
But that's the thing. But I didn't know when it was like, I was like, okay, well then clearly I have no metric for when I'm dumb because I'm uninformed or it's dumb. Like, is everything not dumb now?
Right.
Is there no bad things? Do I just not understand context?
Right. That's funny you say that because I actually had a feeling and a time where it was like, within that community, I did not have strong enough opinions to be considered.
Like, I spent 6 months traveling Liguria and fucking having all the dishes, and I ate all these restaurants. Like,
well, if you went to a restaurant together with a group of people and they were like, "This fucking sucks. This isn't this," and you were just like, "Oh, I thought it was pretty good," and then
you're like,
then
have you guys tried the bread?
Yeah. And they're like immediately like, "This fucking guy doesn't know what he's talking about because he liked that dish and it was like less than perfect."
That's why I love my fucking amazing fiance. She's taught me a lot about just eating out in general, like what is stupid, what's good, what's like, what do you need to think is stupid? Why do you need to think something is stupid at a restaurant?
Right, because she's an actual consumer. She's not an insider.
Because I would fucking go to restaurants when I was a young cook, and I was like, I'm not proud of it. I would try, like, be like, oh, they fucked up the emulsion on this fucking sauce. This is no beurre monte.
Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck, like stupid, like shit. What?
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this? I don't know. I don't even know how to make it. At that point, I was like a terrible cook anyway. I was like, what?
Right.
So, but she'd be like, wow, so and so did this. The service was really amazing. Like this one dish was like, I love how they had this crispy and with like framing your enjoyment for things first from a positive aspect, using what you liked about something first as a way to just evaluate it, to me was really helpful.
Right.
Because I think as a creative who produces things a lot, if my first head dive in is, well, you fucked up this, and this, here's some sugar coating on the top, that causes me to not create anything creatively. If I use the what was wrong about this as the metric for like, is it good or not? In my personal life, in my professional life, when I evaluate things, it's really hard for me to accept the good things with context.
Yeah.
Because then I learned to just not accept the good things, which is really problematic. I think it's very easy to go all the way over and be like, this is, and just think everything is sugar coated and not be able to really be like, well, but this was bad. This is objectively bad. It's hard to do that. But still, I realized, especially in wanting to create my own things, like with Hadeem or whatever, I was like, I need to first approach this with what is the good of this? What is good? What do I like about this? What is important to me?
Yeah.
Here's the things that need to be better of it, sure. But if I just say like, oh, you're made fucking babka for the first time, it's fucking underproofed, it fucking doesn't have the layers, it's fucking chocolate, da-da-da. Who wants to keep going after that?
You're not going to build after that.
It's very hard for me to build because I'm a soft baby angel.
Right.
When it comes to criticism, I need
soft baby angel.
I can be very hard on myself because I want to be very good.
Yes.
But there's often times when I just don't have the talent to be that good. Like,
Right.
I'm very hard on myself about basketball. I'm not very good at basketball, and that's okay.
Are you mad about that?
No. I mean,
do you see yourself after you reach success getting a basketball coach?
I think I have trainable
play.
skills. Yeah, I would just brute forcing your way through a task of like, I'm going to stand in front of this fucking, of this like basketball hoop and try and make free throws for 3 hours straight. If you're fucking shooting in the wrong direction, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to make that ball, so it's like, there's a certain element where you need the self-awareness of like, what's wrong here. But still, I would get, that's where you're like, okay, the education is an important part about getting better at something, and like pulling that in, like what makes this good, learning how to critique things. You can see when a ball goes through a hoop. Can you see exactly when a dough is unapproved? Right. Can you see exactly when someone forgot the cartilage in a chicken and stuff like that. A lot of times people might not even notice that. Took a big bite of chicken, didn't even know there's cartilage in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
A little extra chewy.
But like Chef Kat thinking, because at the end of the day, it's her responsibility for you to do a good job.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, if I fucked up, guess who's fucking saying Chef Kat fucked up,
Yeah, exactly.
And then guess what? A guest fucking says that so-and-so, I went to that chef's restaurant. It wasn't that great. They stand on the failures of like everyone in the building, right? They have to.
There was such a high morale there to being a chef that
it was
I feel like you would lose the team if you didn't hold them accountable.
It was the fucking most type A personality space I think I've ever existed in, and I'm not type A. I'm like a type fucking C. I don't know. I just see. I'm the type of guy who's like, when someone's like, "Fuck yeah, we're gonna fucking like," has that like, I don't know, that energy of like, I think I'm pretty fucking good and we're gonna do a good job. Yeah. I'm like, ugh.
Really?
But it's because
How do you end your lineup? Like when you line up the troops in the kitchen.
Not like fucking Spartacus, dude. I don't know. I'm not because I don't think if someone
here's the other
if someone
thought
saw
that
me get aggressive, they would be like,
here's the other thought that I had. Right, when you have a restaurant, I think you will encounter that because you're getting your ass kicked on a day in, day out basis.
You know how I make people? You know how I show confidence by making people feel confident.
Exactly.
If the people around me feel confident, that means that they trust what I'm telling them to do.
Right.
Right. If they say, "Hey, this feels like the right this direction. This feels good from a leadership standpoint." If they're confident, because I rely on all the Type A motherfuckers that want to work at my restaurant. Yeah. That's great. That's I think of like Michael Jordan, and like how he got great. He was the biggest shit talker on motherfucking earth.
For sure.
No, he wasn't just like gifted through hard work and all the things that lined up in his life to be that talented, gifted. He was also very self-confident and would fucking wrestle that shit out of someone else who thought they were better than him, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put make that analogy as like you have to be that fucking cutthroat like you're the best in the world. There's different restaurants, environments.
There's different leagues.
There's different ways, and and I'm not even really a big sports guy. Yeah. Like I said that, I talk about sports like that, but I don't think that's never been a portion of my life. So having that like team environment where everyone has to be like, we believe we can win and stuff like that was something I had to learn through using external validations. We're going to do well in service tonight because I've exhausted every possible way I think something can go wrong, and I've created a game plan for it.
Right.
I don't say we're going to do well today because we fucking know we can.
Right.
I know I can do something. I know we're going to do great because I've thought, hey, I trust that the line cook knew how to praise these fucking artichokes before service. Right. That when I get to the pass and I taste this dish and eat the artichokes, they're going to be fucking perfectly cooked. I trust that. And that's my confidence. That's my confidence in knowing, and it requires a lot more like cerebral approach to like sitting up and thinking, well, fucking what can go wrong? How do we address? How do we make a game plan? How do I make people feel confident that they're going to do a good job? A lot of that comes from just like, thinking worst case scenario. But I really, really want like that to be the point of confidence, is like confidence in the sense that like we're the X-Men in the fucking danger room and we've fought Magneto a fucking 1,000 times. and we know exactly what to do to take him down, right? Like that sort of game plan. We're like, okay, great. I know it's a little scary. It's real fucking Magneto. He's got fucking crazy. He's flying and shit. But we know we have our game plan. Let's fucking follow the game plan. We have contingencies, all that stuff. So that to me is like the confidence of like the educated confidence. Obviously there's luck and like skill, and people have rough days, and you'd be like, oh man, fucking, you know, your line cook is like, it seems like he's really stressed out. Like,
yeah,
what's going on? To me, if I was like, there's like, fuck yeah, we're gonna do a great job. That's great. And the person you're not seeing them like double check, taste sauces, line up, fucking cockpit, double check. That's the guy whose station I go over and look at. Be like, are you tasting? Are you? Right. Even if he's the most fucking confident motherfucker in the world, if he's not like, let me get the spoons right. Let me get the spoons just right. Let me fucking.
If he's not a little worried.
Not even that you're a little worried. You're just like confirming what you already know.
Right.
Double check. Let me feel, is the water hot enough?
Do you think that is the definition of worry?
To me, worry is there's no action after the worry. Worry is the thing you do, right? And confidence is the thing that like comes from your reaction to the worry, right? So
right.
Or fear or whatever. So like
confidence is the action of worry.
I mean, well, I think that like two things. You have to act on the worry in a way that's negative, right? If you act on the worry in the way that's negative, you're like, I don't feel good about how much mise en place I have going to service. Let me start another pot. Let me just start another pot. Okay, well, I don't feel good about how much fucking polenta I have going to service. Okay, look at your total volume of polenta. Figure out how many orders of polenta you sold last night. Now add 15% for what's going on. Put the count in the system. Weigh out one portion and have a contingency plan. Can you make more second turn if we have to? That to me, acting on worry is just a knee-jerk impulse. ADHD.
Yeah.
Just execution of just fuck. We got to start making. I have to rally the troops. Chef says we don't have enough fucking polenta. Well, did Chef fucking do the math on how much polenta we have, or does he just see it and he knows he's right all the time and he just fucking dot it up? So right. In my head,
there's a lot of that
constantly have
happens.
I have this anti-chef in my head who's just like making these fucking stupid decisions. I'm like, okay, great. Well, that's a knee-jerk response. What's the smart response? All of that.
Do we need to create the chaos to make more right now, or do you ask someone and say,
hey, how much? Because then once that blood's in the water, and people are like, fuck, do I have enough fucking Elysium flowers? Do I have enough X, Y, and Z?
What do you think they're afraid of? Do you think they're afraid of letting the chef down, or letting themselves down, or the guests, or?
I think it's easy to see. Look, no matter what you get, if you get railed during service, there's some people who are motivated by that internal. I don't like doing a good job, or I don't like doing.
They're gonna clip that for sure.
Yeah, right. No. There's some people who are motivated by I don't like doing a bad job.
Yeah.
It's their personal effort is on the line. Some people just don't like getting yelled at, and because they don't like getting yelled at, it motivates them to do a fucking great job. Whatever intrinsic motivation they have.
Right.
And the negative is what happens when that thing goes wrong, right?
That's what I think we need to remove the feeling out of it, because like when you were telling your story, it's like it was like I don't feel good that we won't have enough of this, right?
Yeah, it gives me a bad feeling.
That's what I'm saying, and it's like
do you have a
to move on, we need to remove the feeling aspect of it. Like you're saying, what are the facts?
Yeah.
Do we feel like we don't feel good that there's just enough? Like we all talked about, we have 65 covers. We made X amount of grams per cover. And
which
because
includes a little extra.
Exactly. And because maybe you sent 2 dishes to the back because the guests were up and you messed up a couple canals. Now you're like worried.
Are you worried because you have enough what you need for service, but 60% of it is not good enough quality?
There you go.
You're like, as long as chef's only going to check 2 dishes tonight, he's going to be like, let me taste this and see, blah, blah, blah. If he sees ahead of time, then you're like, fuck, that was my thing. Because there's a lot of the physical in fine dining, there's a lot of precise motor control. That is the difference between something being perfect and just okay, right? Aside from the repetition of years of your career doing something, the fine motor of just it looking really great, the timing, a lot of things have to go right.
Yeah.
Right? Fine dining in general, and this is not just from time and metal. This is in general. I felt like, and it's really informed the way my food looks and tastes, and it's it's a lot less precise. Because I realized that like my fine motor skill And, later or whatever, I realized a lot of it was like, I have a slight learning disability. It's it's called a nonverbal learning disorder. So it's fine motor skills, reading social and facial cues and stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why I get lost all the time in a parking structure.
Does it go over your head or
no? It's just the physical fine motor skills of that. Of like this perfect brunoise consistency every single time. Like, let me set up this is a perfect scenario. So in 2 ways, I'll do it once with fish and once with a vegetable. I get a demo on a vegetable, and let's say it's a not clearly defined cut. So someone doesn't have a ruler out. They're not showing cut it this way every time. 35 centimeters, 35 millimeters, whatever it is, fucking this perfect size, right? I don't have the ruler on my fucking station.
Yeah.
They show it to me. I'm looking at 1 or 2. I see there's a little variance how they cut it, but they're like, okay, here, let me show you how to cut it. I'm left-handed, they're right-handed. So I'm like, can I stand on your shoulder? Let me stand in front of you to see. Okay, so hold. They're already like, well, that's not how I showed you to hold it. I'm like, guy, you want me to fucking learn how to cut right-handed right now for you too? Is this demo for me to learn how to cut right-handed, or is it for me to fucking... And then they're like, you could just, that shape, that's fine, however you have to cut it.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, boom, I start cutting it. I'm like, okay. And then it's a little bit different, kind of wonky, and I realize, like, fuck, it's 3:35. I have 25 minutes to do this, and I need 2,000 grams. And then I'm like, and then you start rushing. So you feel the feeling.
Yeah,
like,
I'm already like,
you
know what I pictured?
Trigger warning.
When you just said that, I pictured leaving recipes that have time picked into them till the end. Because when you pick time, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes forever. There's fucking less usable stuff on it than usable. And especially when they order that thin shit.
Oh,
and you're
fuck
like,
that
just,
thin shit. That
just
motherfucker.
breaking the fucking stems off, but you need like 50 grams. You're like, all right, I think I got it. Throw it on there, 10 grams. You're like,
fuck me.
Walk away from the bench like, what? Fuck!
It's like already, first turn has already started somehow.
That's what I'm saying.
You turn around, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
People are like breaking down their station. You're like, fuck. So like that sort of fine motor control consistency is really challenging, right?
Yeah.
In the case of and then repetition, I don't have 3 hours. You get better at it every day, but my get better at it every day just takes longer, right? Typically longer because I'm just with and then consistency. Consistency is just in general pretty hard for people with ADHD.
Yeah.
And then focus. You have to focus at something. You have to do it the exact same way every single time and be focused while you're doing it. That's how you get better.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm like getting distracted by the conversation chef's having, or there's a thing I forgot, my fucking phone buzzes, and I'm trying to focus on cutting, it's just that chunk of fucking knowledge just takes a lot longer.
Right.
Just in general, from my brain, my own personal perspective. That's me. Not saying it's anyone else also. And fish butchery, same fucking thing. A lot of like small, complex movements. Here's how you get underneath the rib cage, right? If you're going, most people when they show you how to do a fish, they'll go up and over the rib bones. So you'll start collar in your non-dominant hand, or head in your non-dominant hand. You might cut with scissors or shears, whatever what you need to cut off fins, and then you'll slide down the back of the fillet. Or maybe you'll do, I'll do the belly of the fillet first. That's the I'll do the belly first, and then I'll come back around and slide mine down the back. Most people will go up and over, right? If they're doing it right-handed, they'll go up and over, right? But the mechanics of how your hand is, the knife is, and the direction that your blade's going, the direction of your blade, the size of your blade, are all much more set up, much easier to go up and over the rib cage of the fish. That is to take the fillet off of the fish while leaving the rib bones intact. You're not breaking through any bones like Japanese style fish butchery where you would go crack, 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 crack.
Yeah.
You're just going up and over like a large scale fish, like how a fish butcher in like a fish production facility would do it. Up and over, right? The mechanics of that are much different if you're left-handed, right? So it's a small, complex movement, right? So the work, the focus, all the things that lead into it make it a little more challenging.
Right. So, especially being left-handed with all the right-handed tools in our industry.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right now, left-handers are getting more acceptance.
Oh, shout out to the Left Emporium, the left-hand section at
the left hand. Shout out to you, bro.
Yeah, I see you out there.
Exactly, man. But that's what I mean. Like now at night, at prolific knife stores in the city, you
Vernal
see
Cutler,
these
amazing.
exactly.
Yeah, Tim Farron with his little fucking,
shout out to Tim,
my boy.
been on the show before.
Yeah.
You guys are neighbors.
Yeah, we live in the same
Neighbors.
building.
I know.
Actually, it's me, my
For a
homie.
while.
Yeah, it's amazing. We were like
Little hospitality house over
I like
there.
it. Yeah,
That's
Tuesday
cool,
night dinner is real.
Always
fucking
good
nice.
wine.
Yeah, yeah.
Always good food.
You go in
always
his
good
house and he has like a
company.
wall of like 3 magnetic strips of just like every fucking Charizard version of a knife that like doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, that's dope.
It's fucking sick. You'll
Yeah.
go like, hey, let's just make let's go over and make dinner. And I'm like, let me choose through the fucking like, it's as if you like played a fantasy game and like you turned on the cheat codes and every single like boss weapon was available. You're like, you could like,
That's funny, man.
like, oh, this extremely fucking rare Yaginaba, like left-handed. I would love to use that. Sure.
right,
For
yeah.
like, Costco salmon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's his interest, so that's why he's working in that field. He just gets to work with that kind of stuff, and he probably just loves it.
Yeah.
And it's like the same thing we're doing, right?
Oh, for sure.
I started a podcast so I could go fucking hang out with cool chefs and talk shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's working. And you started a restaurant to create experiences and also do collaborations and.
I love that this
learn.
entire conversation is somehow still part of the intro. Asking what I did after we
We haven't even gotten to the stripper when you were stripping. So you have been employed by your own pop-up for the last couple years.
I left Slug. I traveled to Asia for a little bit with some friends, and then I came back and I was like, I want to start. I remember being on the plane and trying to figure out names for Hadeem. And I was trying to figure out, I think that the idea, I didn't really know for a long time what kind of food I wanted to cook.
Yeah.
I was like, everything in fucking, in my world of cooking has always been like French with a little bit of Japanese and then some Italian sauce work and like, an influence of like the farmer's market, right? Like a lot of, it's just a lot of like,
I like that.
Chefs,
Same with me, bro.
What is California cuisine?
Yeah.
It's like,
It's everything.
It's fucking French food and European food with avocado and soy sauce.
Right.
That's like that's how you would land it. But
it's legitimately East meets West.
It's kind of,
like this is where it's at for that.
So I was trying to conceptualize like what is the food I want to cook? Do I want to open up a restaurant that's just San Francisco? That's great, but I feel like I always stress out of like how would I do on a cooking show when they're like, you can make whatever you want. Go in the supermarket. I fucking hate cooking like that. I need the structure of like seasons. Yeah. I need the structure. I need the ability. I need a metric. I'm like, okay, well, what am I cooking? Okay, well, here's my metric now. It's what's in season. Great. Okay, cool. Now what's in season? Well, it's fucking California. You have the world in season, right? Everything, you can cook whatever the fuck you want. We have so much availability here. So, okay, what's in season? Okay, great. What style of cuisine do I want? Oh, fuck. I love eating Chinese food. I love French technique. I love all these It's like, wow. It was really hard for me to decide what spoke to me and like if someone came to a restaurant, if I made someone a meal and wanted to incorporate an element of storytelling or like bring a full holistic restaurant experience. Cause I look at all the chefs I really look up to, they're just amazing storytellers. And whether that's through food or through personality or through experience or whatever, they're telling, it's like an element of storytelling or like hospitality is an element of storytelling. Because you're bringing someone to your table and you're showing them, and they've made a decision to come dine with you. Like, what is the reason? What is a factor for why people want to come dine with at a meal at my table?
Right.
And I really, I grew up Jewish. My family's Jewish. My dad is Polish and Russian. My mom is Lithuanian and Greek. Her mom is Greek Orthodox, or was Greek Orthodox, but was raised. She was raised sort of in a Jewish light family. Her brother was bar mitzvahed, but she wasn't. And then we would travel. We were like, Jewish, right? Not super religious, but I was bar mitzvahed, and I had my we would go and celebrate the high holidays, and then we would travel for Passover, celebrate Hanukkah, but we still, we weren't kosher. My dad loves bacon.
Yeah.
Like we love, we eat pork. We love going to, So it was sort of a cultural identity. And I was like, and I would look at other chefs and I would almost be envious because I was like, wow, your entire family has this like, this almost like specific identity to call on. And you have the metric for when you cook. You're like, I'm going to use mostly Taiwanese ingredients and Taiwanese food I'm going to use this wheel. I didn't know what my palette was, my color palette of like, what are the things that inspire me?
You had to build it.
I had to build it. And I was like, do I build it based off of where are the places I've worked? Am I going to do the fine dining clone with a color, with a location change? Mm-hmm. Can you see all the chefs I've worked for based off of the food I've cooked? And I still believe that's true with how I cook, but
it will always be true.
It will always be true, no matter what. All my good habits, all my bad habits.
Right. As much as you try to get away from these.
Where I leave my pants when I come home. So basically, right? But the focus was like, okay, what's my color palette? And I was like, well, this cultural identity, I thought there wasn't like, I was like, well, what is Jewish food? Is it fucking matzo ball soup? Is it pastrami and rye, or or is it like more influenced by food from like the Levant region, or is it fucking and I was like, well, how do we define that? And I was like, well, I started doing a little bit more research and realizing that like through what is considered the Jewish diaspora, there's a lot of Jews who've lived sort of all over the globe, and their food has sort of evolved through either scarcity or abundance, depending on where they were settling. And that informed a way of cooking, right? And that to me was like Jewish cuisine, right? So a cultural manifestation of like the influence from like what's around you and also your personal background. So, and then once I kind of connected those two dots, I was like, wow, maybe this is something I want to focus on. Maybe I do have this like more in-depth culture. The Polish and Russian cuisine and larger like Eastern European influence of food is really vast. There's a lot of different like places to explore and people's, dishes to like dive into and see how much they've changed, and just through the way different influences from let's see, the Ottoman Empire controlled a portion of all these countries, and how the influence on the Ottoman Empire of the Mongols, and like all the way, allspice, for example. Allspice is it's an ingredient that comes from the West Indies, right?
Right.
It's huge in like Jamaican jerk chicken. One of the primary spices is allspice, right? It grows there. It's from that greater region of the world.
Yeah.
How the fuck is it one of the most ubiquitous spices in Syria and Lebanon? How is allspice one of the dominating flavor profiles of like shawarma? Like that allspice. How did allspice become so? So like, not necessarily in a historiological sense of like I wanted to do like history cuisine, where you do like exact recipes, because I would start to think of the idea like, what if I did like my version of a matzo ball soup?
Right.
Would people be into that? And two things happen. One, my version of matzo ball soup, which my dad makes, which is a recipe that his dad taught him, has fucking tomatoes in the broth. And every time I do it, people throw stones at me and get fucking mad. And like, what the fuck is this, Spencer?
Throw stones. Talk about Jewish cuisine.
I'm like, they literally get so mad at me because they know it's not what they're great. And I was like, I couldn't imagine doing a dish that I was so proud of,
right,
in a version that was like, I was confident to know that this is the best version, and then someone fucking write me an email and be like, that's not my matzo ball soup.
Right.
And I was like, you have to be willing to engage with that memory of the dish every time you make it for someone, right? And be willing to fucking get out there and fucking say why your version is so important to you.
Giving people a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff, I think, talks about this a little bit, but the fact that like, well, this isn't soul food. And it's like, it's soul food to him.
It's food.
And
it's like,
and I don't even want to say interpretation of soul food, or essentially we're all cooking soul food, right?
Yeah, we all have soul.
Yeah, exactly. Some of us do. Some of us don't. But
I don't think. Maybe that's more.
Anybody who's cooking in a restaurant fucking does.
Yeah.
Because like
soul in like the emotional sense, like you all have something that like an inner child that's craving some sort of like reliving the memory. And I'm like, I don't want to go to a restaurant and like fucking sob crying because I miss my yaya, you know, like, because I had fucking her spanakopita on a menu. I don't know if that's really the memory I want to engage with people.
Yeah.
I think there's a separate, like, to me, in some sense, like a lot of what Jeff is really good at, he connects with that in a more sort of like direct way. And I know that like I just wanted to incorporate flavor profiles in dishes that reminded me of those things. So if like a flavor combination, let's say the parsley, mint, and dill combination reminds you of like something that your grandmother used to make. That's fucking cool without doing a direct translation.
You know, it's funny. There's things that grandma used to make that are like from a box. You know, I remember I had that conversation. Like, I was like, hey, what's the recipe to this? I thought it was going to be some grand thing. And then she was like, just read the box. And I was like, what?
That's it. That's the secret. The secret was fucking methocellulose and fucking xanthan gum. Are you fucking kidding me?